the new chief of the Shreveport Police Department, Chief Alan Crump.
I, Alan Crump.
It is not one man's job. He has a whole department behind him.
And as he did that, as he began to make that turn, I fired.
In the districts that are having this crime issue, are more understanding of why we need a new direction.
I supported the mayor 100% on that and his confirmation. During that time, I've just lost that confidence that I had that first day.
In 2 short years, Shreveport Police Chief Alan Crump has faced scrutiny over what many believe to be rising violent crime across the city, over an officer-involved shooting where he pulled the trigger while chasing a suspect, and repeated calls for his resignation by some council members and mayoral candidates. Tonight, a decision is made.
And news of his retirement comes just hours after a shocking double homicide in the city. A husband and wife were found murdered in their car in Shreveport shortly after giving a ride to a man asking for help outside of Mall St. Vincent.
The very latest in the search for that murder suspect in moments. But first, let's detail what happened today and perhaps why it happened, leading up to the mayor's office announcing Crump's sudden retirement in less than a week. KSLA News 12 Chief Investigative Reporter Stacey Cameron piecing it all together for us tonight, and that includes a one-on-one interview with the mayor. Stacey.
Yeah, Doug, the mayor said she and Alan Crump, the police chief, had discussions in recent days about the possibility he might retire, but his sudden decision today, which she got by a phone call, came as a complete surprise. Now, she told me during a weekly meeting here at SPD headquarters when Chief Crump meets with his top brass, he told his assistant chiefs, captains, and lieutenants that he was going to retire. That retirement effective the 15th of this month. He then called the mayor to inform her. You spoke earlier about the fact that there has been perception that Chief Crump had difficulty, controversy in handling rising homicide rates here, and that some of the mayoral candidates had called for his resignation, even members of city council. I asked her, did that play a role in it? And she said she believed it did. I also asked her whether last night's violent homicide played a role as well. She said they didn't discuss that, but the mayor, in a one-on-one interview with me, did say that perceptions of the chief having difficulty dealing with this violent crime that we've seen played a role. Let's listen to that right now.
He was struggling with the fact that the perception was out there, that he, was not the person that should be leading the Shreveport Police Department. You know, when you hear it a lot from people, then, you do think about it.
Do you think he was a political weight at this point?
I don't. I really don't. I know the perception was out there. You know that the perception was out there. He knew it was out there because we were hearing it every week. All of us were.
Now, Mayor Tyler did tell me that her support for Chief Crump was unwavering the entire 2 years. She still supported him now, but she did not try to convince him to change his mind and stay on. She said she has no idea right now who she's going to appoint as interim chief because simply she was surprised by his sudden retirement. However, next week she will look to start putting together a list of potential candidates to replace him. In the interim, her deputy chief will take over that role for now. We'll have more about this developing story still as the newscast continues. Back to you, Doug and Dom, live in the studio.
All right, Stacey, thanks. Shreveport mayoral candidate Adrian Perkins reacts to the chief's announcement. He issued a statement to us saying, "This clears the way for my administration to come in and start with new leadership at the police department. I would like to thank Chief Crump for his service to our city."
All right, let's take a closer look at Crump's time with Shreveport PD. He started his career with the department in 1992, became interim chief in July of 2016, and was later named the permanent chief. He was among 19 applicants for that position, but scored the second lowest among all applicants on the civil service exam.
And you may remember Chief Crump faced controversy as he was put on paid leave in October of last year. After he was involved in an officer-involved shooting incident, he was cleared of any wrongdoing. Councilman Willie Bradford then filed a resolution to seek a vote of no confidence in November of last year, and that resolution was voted down. And now today, he announced he plans to retire.
And Councilman Jerry Bowman in studio with us right now. You joined us in studio previously with Mr. Bradford, and we discussed this very issue about the future of the police department. First of all, thanks for coming in. Thank you. Just your immediate thoughts, City Council member, what you're hearing today about the chief's sudden announcement that he's retiring.
Well, I first got the news. I got a couple of phone calls and a few texts, and it was said that, you know, the chief is retiring. So how do you feel about that? And, you know, I was like, well, I didn't know. And they told me that the mayor also did not know. And that just sounds a little odd to me that, you know, the top cop does not relay that message to the mayor. I don't know.
Right, and I think that it came as a surprise to everyone. A lot of people want to say that this may be her strategy as we go into the runoff, that she had to do something to show that she's probably going to be tough on crime, and a lot of people with the criticism saying that she had to get rid of the chief. What do you think about that?
Right. Well, it's been alluded to that the chief in crime has been a lot of controversy as far as her and her candidacy and her platform. So I do know that I was told that she had hired a political analyst, and that was one of the deals that he told her that it would be best in the best interest to do.
If no one realizes there's a mayor's runoff going on right now, what kind of impact do you think this will have? And speak to that timing.
Again, perception. Perception is, you know, most people's reality, and I think that going forward, now if this was a political straw for her to use, then I don't think that the public will buy into that, because this is something that they've been asking about for a long time, whether his retirement, whether him stepping down, whether we get someone new, or even get some help from the sheriff department or from state police. And neither of those have happened, but just at the timing just seems kind of odd.
Do you think we should have gotten help from state police?
I absolutely do believe we should have got help from police, from the state police and from the sheriff's office. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and from city marshals also should have been involved in all of it, yes.
The future of the city, as a council member, what do you see now? Do you feel maybe perhaps more confident that changes can be put into the streets of Shreveport to do something? Because we're about to talk about a double homicide that happened last night.
Right, and my condolences to that family and the others who were also shot, the two shooters that we had also, yes. Night, yeah. So my condolences to all of them. I do believe that this will bring a good feeling or perception to our citizens, and that's what they deserve. They've been asking. I got a lot of texts from even police officers now who are saying, well, now they feel a lot better and they feel confident on getting a new chief to put them in the right direction of where they need to go.
So what was the perception, I guess, at the police department with officers working with the top cop? Was there a relationship there? Because, you know, if you don't work together, then we can't solve crime.
It was kind of divided, because some officers say, well, you know, I like Chief Crump, and he does a great job as far in their eyesight. And then there are those who say that, you know, there's no communication there, there's a breakdown, and, you know, he's been a school resource officer for 15 years at Fair Park, so how did he elevate from here and go straight to the top position? So
ideally, who would the top cop look like as far as experience and credentials?
Someone who's been out on the street with them to get the knowledge of what's going on in the streets and know the areas of where these things are happening, know the community. Something of that nature. Someone who's been in violent crimes for a while, who's done homicide work for a while, that type of person.
Do you plan on speaking up and perhaps talking to both Ms. Tyler as well as Mr. Perkins, since, you know, that runoff's not till December 8th, and say, hey, here's who I think should be the chief?
Yeah, well, of course.
Do you have someone in mind yourself?
I just think that we should look inside the department and also outside the department. Someone put a nationwide search out, but do not neglect what we have, great talents already in our own department.
All right. Thank you. Good to see you again, sir.
Thank you.
Councilman Jerry Bowman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We were the first to break the news about Chief Crump's retirement on our KSLA News 12 app. On the app, you will find a look at his time as chief with the police department and then what happens next. We also have the full interview with Mayor Ollie Tyler on our Amazon and Roku channels.
And developing right now at 6. More on the Shreveport's latest murders, a double homicide. Family tells us a husband and wife are the victims. Police tell us they were found dead inside a burning car. They had reportedly just given a ride to someone they'd picked up outside Mall St. Vincent. KSLA News 12's Jeff Farrell live at the scene. This is at the intersection of San Jacinto and Pennock Street. Jeff, well, how are neighbors handling this violence happening so close to their front doors?
Well, Doug, as you might imagine, folks here are a bit shaken up, at least the ones that we spoke with, and understandably so when you consider this apparent double homicide right here in what is normally described as a very quiet, peaceful neighborhood. It was this carport right behind me where a vehicle was fully engulfed in flames when fire crews arrived shortly before midnight. Now, crews only discovered what's believed to be the bodies of a man and a woman inside the car once the flames were out. For soon-to-be 88-year-old Bertha Lee Greer, this street has been her home for nearly 4 decades, and she was shocked to hear about those bodies in the vehicle.
Well, just hearing you just say that is scary enough. I mean, it's nobody living there. Wasn't nobody living there, so I don't know what could have happened.
Shreveport police are also working to determine if there's any connection between the grisly discovery and a missing persons report that our newscast has been talking about a little already, filed with the department around 10:25 last night, in which a male and a female adult were reported missing by family members. It is crucial to point out that that has not actually been confirmed, but we're hearing it from so many different sources that it appears likely that that could very well be the case. We'll know for sure verification when the coroner comes out with the identities. They're having to use some scientific tools right now to make clear and distinct identifications. Police are asking, by the way, if you know anything about this case, please call them or call Crime Stoppers for Caddo Shreveport. That's 318-673-7373. Reporting live in Queensboro neighborhood of Shreveport, Jeff Farrell, KSLA News 12.
Just horrible, Jeff. Thanks. Marie Waxel has reaction now with the 2 city council candidates in the runoff looking to serve the community where the bodies were found. Marie.
Well, Dominique, like others across the city, both Wendy Vance and Lavette Fuller agree crime is getting out of hand in the city, leaving some people scared in communities many have lived in for years. Here's what they would like to explore further if they win the seat up for grabs in the runoff.
Maybe with substations and a new leadership and more police officers that are paid for what they're worth, I think we can get the crime under control.
Training, best practices, equipment, pay. These are things that you have to think about for police. They deserve to have the best possible chance at stopping crime.
Both women agree new leadership in the police department is a must, and Chief Crump's retirement announcement earlier today means one of them will be working with a new police chief. Dominique.
Thanks. A grand jury indicts the mother of a baby who died from burns in Natchitoches Parish. The district attorney tells us 26-year-old Hannah Barker is indicted on first-degree murder charges. This all happened back in July when police found her 6-month-old child, Levi Ellerby, with burns not far from her home. Now, the baby was taken to a hospital where he later died. Barker's next court date is set for December 3rd. Felicia Smith also faces a first-degree murder charge in the death.
KSLA First Alert Weather with Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle.
Well, the coldest night of the fall so far upon us in the Arklatex. We're going to see a freeze in the north looking very likely. Southwest Arkansas, northeast Texas into southeast Oklahoma, basically right around the I-30 corridor and points northward. And to the south, down toward I-20, could be looking at a light frost out there overnight tonight and into early tomorrow morning. So do your precautions for anything outdoors. Probably a good idea to bring the pets in. And again, those outdoor plants, the ones in the pots, you can bring them in. The ones that are in the ground, probably throw a sheet or a blanket over them if you want to keep them alive a little bit longer. We're already back into the 40s here in the northern Arklatex. Idabel, the chilly spot at 43, 47 to Queen. Shreveport Bossier hanging on to 52, but the 40s will be moving in very shortly here across the metro area. Fire pit forecast, good night for it. Temperatures around 50 at 7. We're down to 48 by 9. 44 at 11 with quiet weather expected this evening. The chill is our main weather story tonight. Back in just a few moments, a cool weekend to talk about and another shot of cold air next week. We'll break it all down coming up in your forecast.
And also ahead at 6, as Jeff just mentioned, the big chill is coming. Are you prepared? Well, that person there is trying to get prepared. We'll tell you how you can stay safe ahead of the big cold. Keep it here.
KSLA First Alert Weather with Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle.
Well, good evening again, everyone. We continue to track some cold weather coming on in over the next few days. For some of you, maybe the first time you're going to fire up the furnace. Here in this fall season, we've got the freeze warnings overnight tonight, and in some places, we could be looking at some 20s here in the northern Arklatex. Freeze warnings include all of southwest Arkansas, good part of extreme northeast Texas, as well as McCurtain County in southeast Oklahoma. We're talking Mount Pleasant, Atlanta, Texas, up toward Texarkana, Magnolia, Hope, DeQueen, Arkansas, back over into McCurtain County in Oklahoma, including Idabel and Broken Bow. Now, if you're south of here, may not see temperatures get quite to 32 degrees toward the I-20 corridor and points southward, but likely cold enough, and if we get the wind to die down enough, some spotty frost is going to be a concern as well, and that'll do some damage to some of those tender plants that you may still have growing. Here's a look at your lows tonight. Again, the 20s possible. Idabel 26, 29 in Texarkana, 28 in Hope. Shreveport-Bossier, we're going 35 now. Same story down toward Mansfield, 35 in Center, Texas, 36 in Natchitoches, and 36 degrees as well in Many overnight tonight. We start off cold in the morning. It doesn't warm up significantly tomorrow afternoon. In fact, we're still in the 30s probably through at least 9 o'clock, and your afternoon temperatures may only reach the upper 40s and low 50s in most areas. We are going to have a nice Saturday in terms of sunshine, but in terms of temperatures, it is going to be a chilly day. 48 in Texarkana tomorrow and in Foreman, 49 DeKalb, 48 in Stamps, Arkansas. As we take you across East Texas, temperatures here may make the low 50s, but just barely. 51 in Carthage, 50 in Center. We'll go 49 in Marshall, 52 in Shreveport, 51 Coshada, and around 50 degrees in Minden tomorrow afternoon. Rainfall not in the forecast until the end of the weekend, and this may interfere with some of the Veterans Day activities. Now, one of the things we're going to be dealing with, very dry air, at least initially Sunday. Clouds will wake up to those. It may be the afternoon, though, before we start to get some light rain showers that form here from I-20 and point southward. This will be the beginning, though, of our next rain event. So Sunday night into Monday is looking pretty wet, and it's going to continue to be pretty chilly as well through the early going next week. Here we head into early Monday morning, tracking some spots of rain. Lunchtime on your Monday, still looking at wet weather. And where we have the colder air back in parts of Oklahoma, even on into Arkansas, they may see some snow up in that direction. At this point, I'm not expecting that we're going to get that here because the moisture will move out of the Arklatex later Monday evening and Monday night before those temperatures get cold enough around here to change over to snow. So don't worry about that at this point, but that is something that we'll keep an eye on for you. Here's that First Alert 7-day forecast. Again, a chilly day tomorrow, but probably the best day for the last weekend of the State Fair, Louisiana, from 10 a.m. until 11 p.m. tomorrow. Jacket and sunglasses throughout the daytime hours with temperatures again reaching the upper 40s to low 50s tomorrow afternoon, but it is going to be a sunny and dry day. Clouds and rain chances return Sunday night into Monday, and then by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, another blast of cold air drops our temperatures even more. Highs in the middle of next week only in the 40s, and everyone will get a freeze by next Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, with widespread 20s expected all across the Arklatex. Closer look at those temperatures, coming up in our 6:30 half hour. The big question for me is, at what point will I break down and turn on the heat? I usually try to wait.
I almost did today.
Did you?
I almost did. Fireplace, too.
Like having those small bills. You're not running the AC anymore, so you get that small electric bill, but not ready for the gas bill to start going back.
You can't have it both ways.
I know. Much as I try.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Jeff. Still to come, while you may enjoy all the State Fair has to offer, others are hard at work behind the scenes making sure you have a good time. Miranda Whittington tries out working at a State Fair as a concessionaire in this week's Miranda at Work.
All right, so you've only got, count them, 3 days left to enjoy the State Fair here in Shreveport. And while many of you love the rides and all the activity, I see the helicopter rides going on too. Many of you prefer the food.
But how does all of that fried delicacy get made? And this week's Miranda at Work, KSLA's Miranda Whittington spends time with a State Fair concessionaire to learn how it gets done.
The State Fair of Louisiana. It's a place where people come to enjoy the rides, the shows, and most importantly, the food. But early in the morning when fairgoers aren't here, you'll find Gary Nelson showing me just how to be a State Fair concessionaire.
So we have one person at each window, one person cooking, one person might be dipping corn dogs as well.
Gary's been serving up your favorite fried fair foods for the last 25 years and even remembers his very first day.
In the middle of a pouring down rainstorm, I had a family come up to the window and order $85 worth of food. And they sat out back on the picnic tables behind the stand, and they looked like the Simpsons devouring the food.
But while Gary has stories that can make you laugh for days, the one of how he got into this profession is quite the opposite.
I had a friend who would come down with cancer. And so I gave them my 6 weeks vacation for quite a few years until we lost him.
After that, Gary had no plans of continuing as a concessionaire, but then another friend got sick, and a few more years of working turned into 25.
A candy bar or a Twinkie.
And while he can make a lot of things, he decided to show me how to make a fair favorite, fried Oreos. First, you need Oreos.
And some toothpicks.
You don't want to eat these every day?
Not when you cook them all the time.
Gary sticks the Oreos with toothpicks for sanitary reasons, so they don't have to physically touch the Oreos.
Stick it in, and you have an Oreo on a stick.
When I tried, it didn't go that smoothly. Oh, I broke it.
It's okay.
Once the Oreos are on sticks, Gary will put them in a bucket and then place them in the fridge to cool so that it makes it easier to dip in the batter.
Stick it down in until it's all the way, pull it up, spin it around, and just set it in the oil gently.
Then the Oreos start cooking in the oil.
Just push it down so it'll roll over.
We'll flip them over and cook the other side. Then we'll get a boat and sprinkle some powdered sugar on them.
Looks yummy. And we made fried Oreos.
The same technique goes into making fried Twinkies and Snickers too.
Spin it around. There you go.
Okay,
Now
drop
stick
it down?
Set it right down in there and hook it on the hooks.
But again, I think I'll leave the concession life to Gary.
Oh, okay. See, Cody? I broke this one.
We have what you call a broken stick.
What started as a way to help a friend in need turned into a passion Gary won't stop doing just yet.
I'm going to keep doing the fairs until they say we can't take any longer.
Miranda Whittington, KSLA News 12.
Looks like a lot of fun and looks yummy. This is Gary's 10th year working in the State Fair of Louisiana. He says once the fair wraps up Sunday, he'll make a stop in Texas, and then he'll head on back home to Wisconsin. Next at 6:30, Shreveport's top cop, Chief Alan Crump, makes a huge announcement about retirement. Stacey Cameron is live breaking it all down and what this means for the department. Stay with us.
Broadcasting live with coverage you can count on. This is KSLA News 12 at 6.
Right now at 6:30, after about 2 years, Shreveport Police Chief Alan Crump announces his retirement. He's faced scrutiny over violence in the city and repeated calls for his resignation. Chief Investigative Stacey Cameron spoke with Mayor Tyler to get her reaction and joins us live tonight. Stacey, break down more about this announcement, the reaction, and then what happens next.
Yeah, Dom, you know, the mayor said that the call she got from the chief this morning was completely unexpected. In fact, she said she was in meetings all day and hasn't even had the opportunity to stop and think who she might name as interim chief before a permanent chief can be named. Now, she said the constant controversy and the criticism and perceptions that Crump wasn't qualified for the job or that he wasn't handling issues such as the rising homicide rate in the city well did eventually take its toll on the chief, that she and he had actually talked in recent days about the idea whether he would retire, but she said she had no idea he was actually planning to do that. She stressed, she wanted to make certain that she stressed that she did not ask him to retire. She did not ask him to step away, that it was completely his decision, that she still had unwavering support for the chief, a 26-year veteran who, as you mentioned, had served in his role as chief of police for almost 2 years, of course, an interim appointment a few months before that. Now, the chief walking away at this time, the first people that he told were actually the top brass in the department here at SPD headquarters earlier this morning. The mayor telling me that she actually started to hear news about this through phone calls coming into her office. So she was first learning about this before the chief had actually even called her. In the interim now, before she can make an appointment for interim chief, she said Bill Gooden, the chief, the assistant deputy chief, will take over as they look for a replacement for Chief Crump. She also said that in her opinion, the chief took over at a very difficult time for the department, the city, and the nation. She said, you may remember in 2016, there were issues with some officer-involved shootings in other part of the nation, but Chief Crump stepped up, kept this department in the city safe in her opinion. She said he was a man of high integrity and ethical moral character, and she hopes the city will remember him as such, the service that he provided for the city. Dom, back to you.
KSLA First Alert Weather with Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle.
Hey, good evening again, everyone. First freeze of the season expected for the northern parts of the Arklatex tonight into tomorrow morning. And for the rest of the area, it's probably going to happen Tuesday into Wednesday of next week. Here's where the freeze warnings are in effect again. All of southwest Arkansas, much of northeast Texas from Cass County back over toward Franklin County and points northward. Also includes McCurtain County in Oklahoma. This is where we expect temperatures to fall to 32 or likely, in most cases, even lower than that, into the upper 20s. That'll be the main story as we head into the weekend. And then at the end of the weekend, the weather story is going to be the return of some rainfall. Now, we got none of that in the forecast for your Saturday, so proceed with your plans tomorrow without having to worry about the rain gear. Now, as we head into Sunday, it'll be a different story. Rain chances will start to pick up through the day, especially by afternoon. Some scattered light rain or showers beginning to develop, and then those rain chances really go up Sunday night. That rain chance climbing into Sunday night and early Monday morning, up to 80%. Next week, we will start off the work week on a chilly and damp note on Monday with even more cold air coming in toward midweek. Let's track things out, though, here for your weekend with Future Track. Again, this evening, main story is the chill. If you're headed out here shortly for maybe some dinner plans, you will need a heavier jacket. Temperatures by tomorrow morning probably will be in the 20s here across the I-30 corridor. Elsewhere, we're looking at lower and mid-30s and maybe a little closer to the 40-degree mark down around Hemphill as well as Natchitoches overnight tonight. But everyone cold, and where we don't see a freeze, well, we could potentially see some light frost, so that's going to do the same sort of damage to any outdoor vegetation. So just remember to bring in those potted plants off the patio before you go to bed tonight. By lunchtime tomorrow, lots of sunshine. Temperatures will be running into the low in the mid-40s, and for the afternoon hours, it stays chilly. Temperatures will only top out in the lower 50s in some places tomorrow. Now, Saturday night into Sunday morning, cloud cover comes back in, so that'll be a bit of a blanket. So Sunday morning, not expecting frost or freeze conditions, but it's still going to be chilly as we're one side or the other, the 40-degree mark. And with plenty of clouds in place on Sunday, it'll be tough to warm up. Upper 40s in the north, lower 50s from Shreveport down to the south. And again, by Sunday afternoon, perhaps a few rain showers beginning to develop, and they will be on the increase Sunday night and into Monday. Temperatures again staying chilly, mostly in the low 50s. We'll be back into the middle 40s Sunday night into Monday morning, and that will be as warm as it is for the first part of next week. After the rain comes to an end by Monday evening and Monday night, the next blast of cold air sets in. Highs on Tuesday and Wednesday only in the 40s. And again, if you don't see a freeze tonight, and I don't think everyone will, that will change by Wednesday morning. Look at these Future Track temperatures, 6 a.m. next Wednesday morning. Almost everyone in the Arklatex will be down in the 20s, and that will be the end of the growing season here in the Arklatex. Temperatures will start to gradually recover late into next week, back up around the 60-degree mark again by Friday. You're up to date with the latest First Alert 7-day forecast.
Jeff, thanks. Get ready to turn the heater up and grab a coat. Winter is making a return with a freeze warning for parts of the Arklatex tonight. And Texarkana fire investigators want to make sure that you stay warm and safe at the same time.
We just want to make sure that people are heating their houses properly.
Texarkana, Arkansas fire investigators say the cause of this house fire earlier this year was apparently due to a faulty fireplace. Fire Marshal Stephen Johnson says when cold weather hits the area, it brings an increase in fires as people try to stay warm.
If they have to heat, try to use the safest way possible. If you have to use this portable space heater, keep it 3 feet away from anything. And if you are using any type of natural gas or heat or wood products to heat your house, make sure you have a carbon monoxide alarm.
Fire Marshal Johnson is encouraging residents to get fireplaces checked and cleaned before using. Robert Brooks is with ABS Chimney Sweep.
What caused the fire is too much soot. People burning pine, gum, and wet wood.
Brooks says with the cold temperatures coming to the Arklatex, his business is really heating up.
And they just got to make sure their chimney fire is safe and clean before they start, so the family's safe and got that peace of mind.
Road crews are also bracing for the cold. The Texas Department of Transportation started pre-treating bridges with a brine solution in anticipation of freezing temperatures. TxDOT officials say they will continue to monitor the weather to make sure roads are safe for travel. Both the Texas and Arkansas Department of Transportation are working ahead of time in case any winter weather comes through. All right, Friday night under the big lights. This is a live look at Mansfield High School. It's all about to go down. It's time for another Friday night of football. This time it's all about the playoffs. Rashad Johnson is next with a preview of all of tonight's games in Tailgate Time. Stay with us.
Get to the high school action. Shocking news of the day is that Dez Bryant suffered an Achilles injury. The primary worry is that he tore it, meaning he'd miss the rest of the season. The biggest question mark is what could have been. The Saints were obviously on the market for a strong wide receiver after placing Cameron Meredith on injury reserve and will likely have to go back to the pool to find another one. As for Dez, at 30 years old, already in prove himself mode, this will be a test for him.
Day.
Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. I hear you, Matthew Martin. Now it's time for tailgate time. It's when we preview the upcoming high school football matchups, first round of the playoffs for Louisiana. So every game tonight is our game of the week around these parts. Let's start in 5A. Houghton Jr. C.J. McWilliams. Didn't expect to be playing quarterback on today. Peyton Stovall has been the man for the Bucks in the backfield. He returned last week against Airline, but re-injured his shoulder. C.J. McWilliams, he went to work. 414 total yards according to the Houghton stats. All 5 of the touchdowns. He completed 19 of 33 passes for 253 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. No interceptions. He also rushed for 162 yards on 25 carries and scored 2 TDs there. The question is, can he lead them throughout the playoffs? Tonight is the night to find out against Fountain Blue. The Northwood Falcons made history and went 10-0 this season. You could really feel it in the air before the season even got started. Coach Jim Gatlin retired last season, and then he said, hold on, them boys are tough. I got to come out of retirement, especially after looking at the roster. We talk about the skill positions all the time on Friday nights. Quarterback Luke Bogan, receiver DeTravian Brown, and Trayon Jones. All of those guys are tough, but this team is loaded in all 3 phases, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They're underrated. 3 shutouts on the year, and no team has scored more than 28 points. South Terrebonne, they're in for some trouble. They're 500 on the year. Coach Gatlin spoke it into existence before the season.
Don't realize, we're everybody says, well, we got all this experience coming back. We got 12 seniors, and that's it. But we got 30-something juniors that play a lot. And it looks bright around here for hopefully a couple years, and got good sophomores behind them. So the experience they got, our whole defensive front is juniors. Now our linebacker core, they've been starting for 4 years. Kyron Brown, Tyler Loomis right there in the middle, and they bodies took a little whooping when they were 14 and 15 years old. Now it's like we sort of say they were little puppies. Now them suckers are full-grown dogs out there now.
Grown dogs. We'll have those highlights tonight at 10 in overtime. Great news for the Loyola Flyers earlier this week, and it had nothing to do with football. Their head coach, Stephen Jeter, was missing for the last game of the regular season with a heart issue. The reports are that his heart is stronger than ever, and he's back. As for the game, they'll be taking on St. Louis tonight at Mesmer Stadium. With the burden lifted, the Flyers can do what they do. They can fly, baby. Number 12, Mansfield hosting South Plaquemines in 2A action tonight. Here's a live look in the Field City. Field City, what's up? The Wolverines managed to pick up a win over Lakeside last week without their workhorse, Robert Turner. Robert is out for the season with a torn MCL. He rushed for over 1,500 yards this season. Dylan Robinson and Cam Knuckles will be the go-to guys tonight. The Hurricanes come in with a 2-7 record. It's not a good-looking record, but the schedule was loaded with talent. Mansfield rocking all black tonight, Shaft style. The Manny Tigers, they've been the standard in Class 2A for some time now. Nothing has changed. The Tigers are loaded with talent, Division I talent that is, undefeated in district play, and now they'll host Ville Platte tonight. And Coach Jess Curtis and the Tigers should roll over Ville Platte. Let's just keep it like it is. 100 will be in the building tonight for that action. Parkway on the road taking on Ouachita Parish. We'll have a camera rolling in this one. The Panthers have been plagued with injuries for the past few seasons. You remember Justin Rogers and Terrace Marshall. Amani Larry went down this year. The quarterback, he was out for a few weeks. His little brother Gabe stepped in and he played well. Amani came back last week and led the Panthers to a win over Southwood. Tough matchup with Ouachita Parish. We have so many highlights that we got to talk about, but in the next block, we got to talk a little bit about some teams that we rarely talk about. We got to talk about Homer, and we have to talk about the guys from Arcadia. But Mansfield, we still got that live look right there. We'll have more tailgate time after the break. More tailgate time for you. Homer hosting Elton tonight over in Homer. Yesterday we talked about the legend Walter Towns and how he helped lead the Pelicans to the Dome back in 1985. Coach Glenn Cowell, he has nothing but respect for Walter Towns and this Pelican squad, and he has them back in their winning ways. He wanted better seating, but sometimes you have to play with the hand you're dealt. The Pelicans hosting Elton. Like we said, Coach Cowell likes the direction that this program is headed.
Well, you know, we're 6-4 going in playoffs, and that's a lot better than what we have been in the past couple of years making playoffs. So, you know, we're just looking to improve this program. When I got back 3 or 4 years ago, it really wasn't where we wanted it to be, and, you know, in our brain and in our heart. So we really spent a lot of time on trying to build that up, and I've got some pretty decent assistant coaches that's really done that. And we're going in the playoffs against Elton as a 12th seed, and at one point in time we were 3 points away from being 7-0. So, you know, we're not quite where we need to be, but we're building this program back up. We're going to get it back to where we need to be.
Solid. We got a few teams on the road for the first round of the playoffs. The Arcadia Hornets are trying to defy the odds. They have a running back looking to make history tonight. Next week's Athlete of the Week, say no more, it's C.J. Russell, one of the best running backs in the state. 415 yards rushing and 6 touchdowns against Lincoln Prep last week. Tonight, he'll try to lead the Hornets on the road to a win. Coach Carr, just proud of this young man and the man that he's becoming off the field.
Great guy off the field. He's a great student, great person overall, very, very humble, very respectful young man, smart, intelligent, Beta Club kid. So, you know, he comes to work. He does everything that he has to do and more. You know, sometimes you see him out there with the ladder. He's getting his ladder drills in. He's switching hands with the ball. He's also watching film on other guys. You know, I told him earlier in the year I'd throw out some names like Earl Campbell, Ricky Williams, Thurman Thomas, Marshall Falk, and I tell him, check these guys out, man, and look at some of the things they do. And you can tell he's starting to emulate them a little bit, and you can see it translate over to Friday night.
We'll see what CJ does tonight on the road. Also, we got to talk a little bit about a little college football. LSU in Fayetteville to take on the Razorbacks this weekend. Jacques Doucet from our sister station is there to explain Coach O's Arkansas ties and how it helped him land the job at LSU.
Arkansas has been pretty good to Coach O. It was his first paid job as an assistant strength coach in the late 80s.
Daddy started right here. $25 every 2 weeks.
In 2016, as Ogeron was fighting to become LSU's permanent head coach, he took a big step towards the gig at Arkansas's expense. The Tigers bouncing back from a tough 10-0 loss to Alabama by throttling the Razorbacks in Fayetteville 38-10. In 2017, a 24-10 defeat to the Crimson Tide was followed by a 33-10 rout of Arkansas in Baton Rouge. And now, after the Tigers' most lopsided loss to Bama in 16 years, LSU needs the Razorbacks to cleanse their palate again. After getting shut out last weekend, LSU hoping to finally get their offense going again against a Razorback squad ranked second to last in the SEC in points and yards allowed. When Joe Burrow threw this touchdown pass to Derek Dillon at Auburn in Game 3, it appeared LSU perhaps was breaking the seal, and many more TD passes were to come. That hasn't happened. Burrow only has 6 touchdown tosses in 9 games, his last one coming against Ole Miss in late September. Winning, no matter how it comes, is the bottom line, but it would be nice for LSU to explode, score 35 or more, hold Arkansas to 10 or less, and take another big step towards a New Year's Six bowl. Covering LSU football, Jacques Doucet.
Thanks, Jacques. The LSU-Arkansas game is a big game. Always a big game. It's always a battle for the Golden Boot. We have a lot of guys playing. Jared Cornelius with Arkansas. Santos Ramirez with also Arkansas. And we also have Sosa Agim, straight out of Texarkana, defensive lineman over there. And you know the guys we have for LSU. We can always shout those guys out. But let's take a look at our game that we have going on tonight. Mansfield hosting South Plaquemines in 2A action. Here's another live look at the field. The Wolverines, they managed to pick up a win over Lakeside, like we said, and they're missing a few pieces. Robert Turner is probably one of the best running backs in this area. Torn MCL for him, and the Mansfield Wolverines will have to do it without him. And they've been using a couple of quarterbacks to get the job done so far. We'll have a lot of highlights tonight. This is what it's all about, baby. We got overtime action tonight at 10. You don't want to miss it. Come back and see what we got going on in overtime.
Stream KSLA News 12 for free on our new Roku and Amazon Fire TV channels.